which form of government is the better one, maybe it's neither. Maybe it doesn't exist right now. Maybe somebody needs to innovate a new form of government that combines some of the better aspects of the other ones. Maybe there is no perfect form of government because human beings are fundamentally flawed, right? When I first learned about communism, I was young and I thought communism sounds awesome. Like everybody has the same stuff. You're taken care of. Like
everybody gets education. Everybody gets medicine.
Like what's the problem here? But then you realize that the problem is that the leadership is flawed. Yeah. The leadership there's some level of corruption will happen at some point, and then the whole thing goes to pot. So, it's a human problem.
Well, what's interesting to me is that, we sit here saying how war is so costly and war is so detrimental. Mm-hmm. And we're all seeing how war has negatively impacted so much of our global process since Ukraine and Russia kicked off, right? Yeah. It reminds me of a quote that I learned when I was at the Air Force Academy. There's this famous quote that every military academy cadet learns. And I was a horrible cadet, so I don't remember the whole quote. But I remember the beginning. And the beginning was that war is a terrible thing. It may have been war is an ugly thing. War is an ugly thing, but not so ugly as the decayed and degraded state of society that believes that nothing is worth war, right? Which is fascinating to me, not only because I totally massacred that thing. So for any cadets out there listening, they know how it's supposed to go.
Tell us in the comments what the real thing is.
Yeah, for real. Because I obviously didn't use it. Didn't change my life until I use it right now. But the idea that the decayed and degraded moral state of society that says that nothing is worth war is uglier than war itself. Now that I'm older, I don't know that that's necessarily true.
I don't think
I don't know that's, and I see what we're doing here in the United States, which frankly, what we're doing in the United States is we're letting Ukrainians die fighting an American foe. That's what we're doing, right? Ukrainians are fighting for a valid reason,
very valid.
But they're fighting and dying, and they're weakening a foe that we don't have to send any American lives to fight, right?
Yeah.
That's a win-win when it comes to American national security priorities, right? Mm-hmm. That's what's happening in Europe. And that's exactly the quote. That's exactly a societal base that believes that it's not worth war. We don't want to send our own people in to go do that. We learned that in Afghanistan. We saw the nastiness of it in Vietnam. We didn't engage in Syria, right? There's all these examples where we have decided to stay away from war, even though our own generals, our own military academies are teaching us that we should be stepping into war.
That's a very interesting quote.
It's there are lots of interesting quotes. What's interesting is that quote is what gets drilled into the mind of every freshman going through a military academy. That's what's interesting. That's exactly again, going back to what we learned at CIA. Brainwashing is not a matter of finding somebody and changing their mind. Brainwashing is a matter of getting someone to self-select into a system of belief, and then you reinforce that existing system of belief. What is a military academy? You're finding people who are self-selecting, even competing to get into a school that is military.
Yeah.
And then when they have been awarded and granted permission, and when they are celebrated because they're one of the few and the proud that got in, then you're just further cementing and indoctrinating their own biases about being the best and killing and war and death and dominance and, everything else. It's a fascinating thing. It's something that we need. But not all lives are of equal value. If you like this short clip, make sure you click here to see the next clip or here to see the full podcast episode.
Freedom! So fresh, so new.